My fellow citizens of Dougherty County, we continue to make strides in fighting the spread of the COVID-19 virus here in our community. But we need your help. If you or someone you know is eligible to receive the vaccine, as your county commission chairman, I'm asking you, please consider getting the vaccine. Together we can fight the spread here in Dougherty County and make us happier, healthier, and stronger.
Welcome to the Dougherty County Board of Commissioners meeting with your chairman, Christopher S. Cohilas. Your commissioners include, from District 1, Commissioner Ed Newsom. From District 2, Commissioner Victor Edwards. From District 3, Commissioner Clinton Johnson. From District 4, Commissioner Russell Gray. From District 5, Commissioner Gloria Gaines. And from District 6, Commissioner Anthony Jones. Also joining us is your County Administrator, Michael McCoy, Assistant County Administrator, Scott Addison, County Clerk, Joanne Ware, and County Attorney, Spencer Lee. Thank you for joining your Dougherty County Commission meeting.
All right, let's go ahead and call the Dougherty County Commission regular meeting to order for March 1st, 2021. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Good morning.
All right, if we could, we're going to start with our attendance. I note for the record that Commissioners Gray, Johnson, Edwards, and Newsom are present. And let me sound for Commissioner Gaines and Commissioner Jones. Are they on the line?
Yes, good morning, good morning, good morning.
Commissioner Jones will be out today.
Okay, understood. Good morning, Commissioner Gaines. All right, Madam Clerk, if you would please mark Commissioner Jones is absent, and we have 6 commissioners present today. Let's now move on to the prayer and the pledge. If I could, have everyone stand and bow their heads. We'll begin with the prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this time that we have to come together to do work for the citizens of Dougherty County. Thank you for the vaccinations that you have provided this community and the peace that is starting to blanket this community. We have certainly lost far too many, but we also recognize that we've been provided many resources to overcome tremendous obstacles, and we're very thankful for each of those opportunities and resources that you have provided us. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, consider for action the minutes of the February 1st regular meeting, February 8th work session, and February 8th special called meeting. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? There being none, we'll call the matter for a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Delegations, this is where the commission will hear comments of those items pertaining to Dougherty County for which public hearing has not been held or scheduled. Please ask everyone to be brief to the point and considerate of time for others. And first is Assistant County Administrator Scott Addison, UGA Extension Coordinator James Morgan, City of Albany Planner Carrie Davis, and Flint River Fresh Executive Director Fernando Jackson, who are present to discuss the Dougherty Fresh initiative.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Okay, we're here today to talk with you all about a new initiative that we have here in Dougherty County, centered around healthy food access, and the initiative called Dougherty Fresh, and we pulled together resources already here in Dougherty County working on healthy food access and education, and formed this partnership between Dougherty County, Flint River Fresh, and the University of Georgia Extension Office. And this partnership was formed in 2020 in response to a grant we applied for through that was funded by the Aetna Foundation and the National Association of Counties and the American Public Health Association. It's a 2-year grant with $50,000 award per year for $100,000 total in grant funding. And it's centered around healthy, reducing disparities in diseases, and healthy foods is the topic that we chose to focus on here in Dougherty County. And our mission and vision, our mission is to empower the community to choose fresh produce options through education, availability, collaboration, and training to improve health outcomes. And our vision is that we believe everyone deserves the opportunity to have fresh foods in their community. Through innovations, partnerships, and education, we can be a reliable partner to assist with the health outcomes in our community for years to come. And that's a little background on what we are and what we're trying to do. And now I'm going to turn it over to James Morgan, our county extension agent, and he's going to talk a little bit about our goals. And from there, we'll move forward to some of the work that we've achieved.
Good morning, James.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I can't read that, so I'm going to read the screen over here, talk a little bit about our goals, and get to our objectives and goals. Developing a strategic vision for urban agriculture and conservation with our community, within our community, working with local government and area business to ensure continued success and sustainability of this program beyond its inception, which Mr. Addison said just started last year in September. Coordinating an urban agriculture program to implement and expand current community initiatives that we currently have in place with the Extension Service, Flint River Fresh, and some of the other community partners we'll talk about later. Building partnerships with local government, business, farmers, and others, helping to increase the access to healthy and local foods in low-income areas, especially in East and South Albany. Develop a plan to address our food deserts, creating opportunities to merge existing initiatives into one large-scale, long-term coordinated effort. And we're doing that through our Food Council we'll talk about here in a bit. And develop financial opportunities to support long-term viability of the initiative, as well as securing more funding and partnerships with this initiative to ensure longevity and impact of this program. With that, we came up with 3 goals. Can we get the next slide? Oh, I have to click it, sorry. Okay, there you go. We had to come up with a long-term strategic plan for the next 2 years, and we had to develop a few goals, and we came up with 3 goals. Goal 1 is to increase the availability of fresh foods and nutritional sound resources for Dougherty County and the residents, and we're doing that through assessing food insecurities. One of the things we're working on is a survey in which we are looking at areas that need our help and need the resources that we can offer. And we're increasing food access through community gardens, mobile markets, and corner stores with fresh market freezers. We put on some, we put on one project so far that we've given out food, and also we've had one workshop focused around nutrition, and Fernando will talk about that. And we have an idea about placing freezers in community stores. It's called the Dougherty Fresh Freezer Program, where we go into these corner stores in these desert areas, provide them with a freezer and maybe fresh produce as well that they can sell, and then in the long term get them established with farmers so they can continue to have access to those foods to provide in those stores.
So James, at that place, you're providing a marketplace for local farmers inside the convenience stores?
You can kind of consider it, yeah, its own marketplace. We would like to put a freezer in their store, or if they already have a freezer, but make sure they have access to food. So we will work with them and a local farmer to keep that food supply going, even when this program is done. And our intention is if they do that, we can maybe give them the freezer, and because we're purchasing it through these grant funds, and so for them to sustain.
It's a really good idea. I mean, people go to convenience store for all types of things, and to get a habit of getting fresh fruit out of there and vegetables is a good thing. It's a good idea.
Yes, sir. Okay, our second goal. Oh, I have this clicker thing. Our second goal is to establish a food council for the advancement of nutrition and health in Dougherty County. We have partnered with several agencies, and Mrs. Carey could talk to that extent. We have had our first food council meeting, and we would like to continue that work with public health.
What is the food council? What does it do? Who comprises it?
I think we have a couple slides about that.
Okay.
Right, once he finishes going over the goals, and I'll go over that with him.
Okay, and our last, my glasses are fogging up here. Our last goal is to create a replicable model to use in other locations. And the model that we're talking about is coming in, establishing like gardens and or mobile markets, and being able to put that all, as well as the nutrition programming, and just pick it up, take it to another community, take it to another neighborhood watch group, and offer the same concept that we've started at Southgate.
Question, please.
Yes, Commissioner Gaines?
Yes. Can you tell me if you use the fresh market freezers in corner stores, if there are any USDA requirements with regard to safety and quality of food provided?
I think she asked about space and quality of the food provided.
She's asking, yes, she was saying, are there USDA requirements?
For putting food into these grocery stores, into these convenience stores.
We haven't gotten to the phase of installing the freezers yet. That's something we're going to have to look at, of course, before we put those in the convenience stores.
So how does that work? Y'all buy the freezers?
Yeah, that's what we would look at, using the grant funding to buy freezers to put. I think we've targeted five or six.
So then who owns the freezer?
The level. They're, fridges, the open air ones that you see at grocery stores. Not as long
Like
as public.
You do the open air, it doesn't close.
And then, or the open air ones that just, are refrigerated and they can go in and, the produce section at the grocery store. Yeah. Something like that.
So, who owns the freezer?
We would, I guess the initiative purchases with the grant funding and allows the convenience store owner to
utilize
to sell the vegetables that we provide in the beginning, with the goal of being that hopefully it would be a sustainable enough revenue source that he could work out a deal directly with the farmer at the end of our grant to continue, and that would be the agreement was that as long as they keep using the freezers or fridges for produce, that we would let them keep them and keep that relationship with the farmer.
So is there like a lease agreement that we would have with them that sort of incentivizes, in other words, make sure that you don't have a bunch of nutty buddies in there versus collard greens? I mean,
yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
We'll have to come up with an agreement like that
We call it the no nutty buddy agreement.
to regulate. Yeah, right. No,
Very technical term.
Right.
Because they have costs too, electricity.
Oh, sure,
so,
yeah.
They need to make some.
But it's sort of an incentive because it's a capital expenditure that most gas stations don't think about. So we're making it and we're letting them borrow it and think about things a slightly different way. I get it. Yes, Commissioner Gaines.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
if I can go back to my original question, perhaps Mr. Jackson can answer that question. I don't know under circumstances like this whether or not there are any requirements. I'm just curious if he knows. If you're going to provide, say, cut collard greens or something that are packaged, what kind of health requirements are there?
What we'll do is we'll make sure that we'll work with a third-party distributor that handles like food safety, food regulations, and also has a working relationship with the farmers. And then also with the collaborative that we currently work with, they all provide what we call food safety protocols and GAP certification, which stands for Good Agricultural Practices. So we'll make sure that we're not just working with the farmer that is just harvesting something out of their field and then bringing it to the market, just because we want to make sure of like the safety protocols are in place. So we work with a third-party distributor that kind of will make sure that the food is food grade safe. no bugs,
Okay.
no pesticides, things along that line and that nature.
How does that happen? Because it's a really good question that Commissioner Gaines asked. And I know that the USDA, like they go in and they inspect gas stations. They check the food, and it's a really good point you should ask. But then, okay, I mean, what's to stop me? I mean, so like I go and grow a bunch of collard greens in my backyard, and I want to carry them in and have them sold. Like, how does one get that? Like, what's the level of proof? So am I going to come out, look at my backyard, figure out if I got a tire back there?
I'm going to direct that to James.
Okay.
Okay, well, that I can answer. You'll have to work with the Georgia Department of Ag on that, and there are certain licenses. There's like cottage licenses and other licenses you have to have. So if you are a farmer and you want to sell at a farmer's market, if you just pick it up out of your field and just shake the dirt off, then you're okay. If you alter that product in any way, wash it, cut it, bag it, then you have to follow license and GAP certification protocols. The GAP certification protocols are good agricultural practices where they come in, there's a third-party auditor that comes in and inspects your farm. They're looking at sanitation, they're looking at whether you have water stations for your
You
workers.
say if you actually wash the vegetables,
Yeah, that's called processing. Anytime you process something,
so if you don't wash the vegetables, you're actually better off. Yeah. Does that make sense?
It depends.
in
I
a
like
way,
dirt. I mean,
but you won't get away with that if you put it into a grocery store or a convenience store. In that case, they're going to have to show proof that they've actually worked with the Georgia Department of Ag on that. I've actually done some GAP certification for farmers last year, working with Fort Valley, and we're having several people in this area that are getting GAP certified because they're putting in a facility here in Albany to have farmers come in and shell their beans and bag their collards. That's going to be through Fort Valley. They have a partnership with the USDA to do that. So as Fernanda said, you're not just going to be able to grow the beet and bring it into the store. It's coming through somebody who's already been trained in some good agricultural practices, or actually have like pesticide licenses and other protocols in place.
Understood. Thank you for that answer.
You're welcome, sir.
Thanks.
So I didn't mean for us to throw you off. Fernanda, my good friend, what'd you bring with you today?
No, that's a good question. Thank you again, Commissioner Gaines, for the question and feedback from everyone. And so we started off our first event in November at Southgate Community, where we did a workshop. And what I have on demonstration is we did a workshop where we showed the people how to grow in their backyards with a container. So last year, this was just a collard seed, and just with them watering it consistently, they're able to produce this at their home because we want to remove the barriers of people saying, I didn't know how to grow, I'm not sure what to do. So we gave them a tool that everybody has access to, which is a 5-gallon bucket, a little bit of seed, and a little bit of soil. Again, they can harvest this for themselves in their backyard going into their home, just to kind of remove that barrier of transportation and a location. And so we did those workshops as well. And in addition to that, UGA also did a workshop that was about nutritional education. So in the package you guys received, there are recipe cards that we distributed out into the community. And then we also had a conversation on whether or not they would be interested in having a community garden at a county property that's in close proximity of that location. And also, we've also reached out, and part of what we're doing with the grant is trying to find opportunities where we do more than just give produce away. We want to make sure that people are utilizing the produce, eating it regularly. And so we partner with a group called VeggieSoul with Dr. Sterling, where they're doing a plant-based diet study with 26 participants, where they're looking at the health, the obesity, everything, and just trying to see if anything changes with them in 3 months of them eating a plant-based diet. And so we're providing them bags of produce every 2 weeks, in addition to the recipients are receiving vegan meat, milk, dairy product, all things non-meat related, just to change. And a diet is consisted of eating Southern culture or food, basically, but with vegetation and things like that. So we're looking at community partners where we can also kind of come in and really talk more about what are people eating? How are they eating it? Can we document the change by them having fresh produce? Because people are saying it for a while, give them fresh produce that'll change the culture. But we saw during the pandemic, there were thousands of pounds of fresh produce distributed into our communities, but how much of that has really changed the eating habits of our communities? And so we're looking at how can we develop a model that can be replicated that's centered around nutrition, recipes, and growing food. And so with this partnership, it goes until the beginning of April. We're looking at documenting that number, documenting that conversation, so we can share with other groups to really show there's a long-term effect, and we can introduce people to eating, making healthier food choices that has a lot of flavor and things like that. And I'm gonna pass the next slide to Carrie.
So back to your question about the Food Council. So actually, some of the work on the Food Council began with the Growing Food Connections program that we had a few years ago. That was one of the recommendations that came out of that plan, was for us to form this Food Council. And basically, the Food Council is a group of organizations that work in that realm. So everything from farmers who are growing the food, to aggregators, to public health, to other people in the community that are interested in planning, we're inviting them to be a part of this Food Council. So we did hold that first meeting on February the 10th, and we had about 10 people that were in attendance at that meeting. We also outlined other organizations that needed to be involved to send out those next invitations to them. So our next meeting is scheduled for March the 10th, which is a week and a half from now, to talk about the Food Council, talk about what goals we're going to be going after. So if any of you are interested, we will definitely send out invitations to you as well, so that you can come and be a part of that conversation if you're interested in doing so. But on the slides that you see in front of you, these are a list of some of the organizations that participated in the first call. But again, we have a much longer list of people who we've reached out to and hopefully will be able to join us in our coming meetings. All right, so these are some of the Food Council goals and objectives. So just like James went through these, I'm not going to read all these to you, but this just outlines for you basically what we're trying to do as a Food Council. So our Fresh Spring Festival in the park. I don't know if that's going to be Fernando. Okay. There you go.
So as we've done this conversation with the Food Council, different partners, we thought one of the things that we want to do is just to really do a kickoff event that involves multiple agencies, multiple partnerships that can come together and showcase our community resources that are related to food access, nutritional education, as well as a healthier lifestyle, a way of living. And so what we envision is the first of the month, or something like a First Friday sort of thing at Turtle Park. Commissioner, I see your hands up.
So, yes.
Okay.
So this is great. I love it all. And this goes back to some other work that I did a long time ago, and it seems like it's sort of come together in a different way. I had a vision for a wellness program that was for the entire community, and where we would do something like this precisely. All this is a compliment. None of this is a criticism. It's all compliment. And I had in my head, we've got so many people that are overweight, that are diabetic, they have high cholesterol, they have multiple comorbidities, they, go blind, they don't eat good food, and it's one of the largest reasons, not only that we have bad healthcare outcomes, but also why we have such bad healthcare insurance prices. And previously we did an initiative just amongst county employees. We called it the Chairman's Challenge, where we literally everybody signed up, everybody got weighed in. We did it for a month. People lost weight. It was a great way to do it. And so what I had in my head was, could we do something like that on behalf of the community? And maybe have someone from Phoebe with a scale out there, and people sign up, and so kind of like the Biggest Loser type challenge. Does that make sense? That's something we could do. I mean, it seems really easy to be able to do in a way you could do a community wellness and health challenge, and you could get folks weighed in. You could have Phoebe out there taking people's BP, maybe even do some cholesterol screening. I mean, it's just I'm sitting here, and this is what, in many ways, I had in my mind, and we worked on it with a lot of the same partners that you've got identified here, and we were working with ASU on that as well. And then anyways, a few things lagged, but the concept was still there. So anyways, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, but that's part of what this space is about. We want to try to create more of a collaborative event that involves multiple partners, so multiple stakeholders can attract people to the common cause of and not to borrow your slogan, but like a healthier Dougherty, right?
Yeah.
So that sort of concept. And so what we looked at doing was to have different vendors showcase what they offer overall to the community, but make it like a festival,
Yep.
hour and a half, 2 hour sort of gathering. And so this is part of what we want to present to the board for resource and support to who we need to bring to the table for this sort of initiative.
One final question. if
Yes,
you don't
Commissioner Gaines.
I noticed that several of the Dollar Generals have already implemented the concept that we talked about earlier. Do we have any feedback on those, whether or not folks like them or use them or not?
Sorry,
what
what
now?
was the question about the Dollar Generals?
The Dollar Generals have installed the freezers for fresh vegetables and produce. And several of them, I know the one just up the street from where I live on Newton Road has it. I don't know about the others. I think that's the only one I've been in. But do we have any feedback at all, whether it's from the stores themselves or from the community, on whether or not they're using those? And I would imagine that you're installing freezers in community stores would have a similar concept as that. And I'm just curious if that is working for those Dollar Generals.
Yeah,
Or if you know.
I'm not sure. I don't have any feedback this time on that, but, I assume it would be a similar, idea or concept there.
All right. Very good. Thank you. Thank you very much for the presentation. Very good presentation. All right. Next, Tax Director Shauna Josie and Chief Appraiser George Anderson are present to discuss V-Pilot, Pilot, and tax exempt property in the county.
Chairman, I would like to say before they begin that this is one of the board's goals that was discussed at the retreat.
Okay. Before we start, I guess, Mr. Chairman, I don't know if Ms. Warren had put it on there, but we had, okay, still, for Dr. King, that wanted to be.
I have it on my notes
Okay,
next.
okay. I apologize, Mr.
No worries. Mr. Wall, I could not hear through this penalty box what you were saying earlier.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
I can now.
Okay, all right, good deal. I was just stating that this is one of your commission retreat goals.
Which was to do what? Just to review the tax exempt properties?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This is not going to be like a 30-minute presentation, is it?
I will try to
It can
be as
be
brief
less.
as possible. I did provide you in your package a listing of all for your review.
Yeah, I mean,
And
you've
of course-
provided exhaustive information that
Yes, sir.
everyone can review
And,
on their own.
No, I was not planning to go over all of it, but just kind of be brief about it. So if you had any questions.
I think that would
happy
be
to
a
answer.
very, very good idea, Ms. Josie. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Basically, I'll just give you pretty much the format, and I know you've already probably reviewed it. It is for the pilot, which is the payment in lieu of taxes. Listed on there is your terms and also the accounts that we have on our tax accounts for PDA, payroll development accounts, for Attica, and also for DDA, Downtown Association. On the first page, you have a list starting with the terms to the left and the middle. I mean, the year it actually started to the far left. In the middle is the term which it's begin and ends. And then, of course, in the middle to the right is the listing of all accounts that we have on the listed for pilot accounts. And on the first page, of course, you see Tanner Dean, Albany Tractor Company, P&G, Miller Coors, and Outdoor Network Distributions. They're based on whatever the agreement is with PDA. And in summary, you see those as well. Tannerdine is paid in full with the 100% fair market values of that. Also, Albany Tractor. P&G is basically based on an agreement and a schedule that was set up in 2010. Miller Brewery is based on the amount of employees that they employ, and it's based on a schedule for the different amounts that they have as far as the number of employees. And as of 2019, there was 514 for real property, 80%, and for the personal property, it was 90%. And again, as I said, these are based on the schedules that are provided in those agreements. Outdoor network is the same. It's based on a certain amount of the annual rent, which is $7,561, and then it's an additional 20% each year, and they're required to maintain 90 employees full-time. I'm going to try to do this real quick. I don't know how that works.
One question about I had, and I'm not picking on Tannerdine here, but car dealerships have gone through quite a different path with the way they pay taxes. The ad valorem tax versus the taxes now that come back to the county of residence of the individual. So having a car dealership in your county or your community is no longer as directly lucrative as it was before. And I see where these 50-year term is established on a model of taxation that no longer exists. And so the valuation of that property, the inventory, and the sales tax generated from their activities changes. I'm not picking on this particular dealership, but car dealerships in general, would it be worthwhile to go back and look at that to see if what the original arrangement was is still beneficial for both parties? Because obviously I think it would be very beneficial for the car dealership to have this arrangement in place now that taxation has changed.
That is a question that has to be addressed to the Payroll Development Authority.
Can you speak into that?
That's a question that will need to be answered by the Payroll Development Authority.
Okay.
For them to review and make a decision on what would be best for the future.
Okay.
That's a fair question.
And I'm not picking on, like I said, I'm not picking on them, and I know it is a Payroll Development Authority question because they set the terms and made the deal. I just meant in general, since car dealerships, their valuation to a community, they're no longer paying tax into Dougherty County for the value of the inventory they have like they used to. The sales tax, the sales tax all used to come into the county that they resided in. Right. Now it goes to the county that the purchaser lives in. Right. So we've diluted the value of having car dealerships in Dougherty County or in any county, and I don't know if this type of deal would still be valid today. And I know it's a PDA question. I don't want to go down a rabbit hole, but even if Dougherty County had a deal like this, would it be worth revisiting?
I think that's a question I can get answered for us. And I don't think that Shauna's the one. I think we probably talked to Janet Dyke, who serves as the executive arm of the PDA, and probably get an answer to that question pretty quickly. Commissioner Gray. I think it's a very fair question, and I'll tell you, when I've been at the PDA, I've run across some of these deals in the past where they were struck with the best of intentions at the time, given the governing law at the time.
Right.
And I'll give you an example. There was recently a property on Oglethorpe that the PDA years and years and years and years ago had acquired and purchased. They purchased it at fair market value at the time that it was back when the ad valorem taxes stayed in the county of purchase. And they wanted it, it's before I was ever on, but they wanted it to buy to get a new car lot, or to incentivize a new car lot to be there. And then the law changed the very next year, So the value of the property was, and we ended up selling the property for far less than what we had originally, well, I say we, the
Yeah.
collective we.
Right.
Anyways, yeah. Good point.
One question.
Commissioner Gaines.
I noticed that Miller Coors and Outdoor Network and perhaps some of the others are required in their agreement to maintain certain level of employment, but I don't see that with Procter & Gamble, and the reason it's been a question in my mind for some time since I toured the facility and noticed how few employees are on the floor. And as automation takes hold in some of these industries, the number of employees are reduced substantially. So I'm just curious, the original Procter & Gamble pilot, whether it addressed the number of employees they were asked to maintain under the agreement, and whether or not that changed in 2010, or whether or not it's just never been tied to the number of employees that they are asked to maintain.
In reviewing the agreement, I don't recall any stipulations for employment. I can go back and review it again, but I did not see that. Basically, it's on the real estate property and personal property and the value that was assessed in 2010. But I did not see anything in that review in regards
to the number of employees.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chair, do you know whether or not that is part of Procter & Gamble's pilot?
Whether what's a part of the pilot?
The number of employees to maintain.
I do not. I'll be happy to get that information. I do remember that that was a deal that was worked out back about 15 years ago when P&G was considering leaving the community, and I think former Chairman Sinyard, in his capacity on behalf of the PDA, worked on making sure that that didn't happen. I don't know the answer. I would tend to think that it's either tied to their capital investment or their employees or both. We certainly could find out that information.
Thank you.
Okay. And just to reiterate on Tanner Dean, Commissioner Gray, is for real estate only. It does not include any personal property. It is assessed and taxable.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, on page 2, it's the same format. You have Albany Green Energy, which is BioGreen, located out at P&G. Their agreement is for real and personal property, and it is annually $375,000. Websterant store, it is for the real and the personal. The inventory is not included, which is also part of the Freeport exemption if they qualify each year. And the agreement is for $95,000 a year. Any additional equipment that was purchased after the agreement is taxable, and their agreement is to maintain 120 employees, and the last reported to us was 300 employees. Tahoe, which is Coates and Clark's warehouse, is for the real property only, and at this time, they are zero taxable. They're required to maintain 80 employees, and was reported 90 employees, and in the year of 2023, they would be paying 100% in taxes. Georgia Pacific, they're required to pay in the first pilot payment in 2023, which is part of the agreement after 2 years after they're placed in service. And they were placed in service the first of this year. And of course, the terms with that is based on a schedule from 1 to 5 years, 20%, 6 to 20 years, 40%, and they're required to maintain 104 full-time employees. You have a Dougherty solar panel, which is for personal property only, and is percentage based on the fair market value, based on the agreement of the payment schedule, and the years accordingly listed. The owner of the property pays the real estate taxes. Albany Bank and Trust, of course, their agreement, they pay 100%. I'm sorry, they pay based on a savings and based on a lease agreement, and it's average out about $7,852. Albany Holdings, which is Albany Hilton Garden, pays 100% full taxes and allocated in the payment in lieu. On page 3, page 3, this is your DDA downtown agreements, association, which is your Pretoria Fields, and your Flint, the Flint, which is the Flint restaurant. They're based on, of course, 100% value, but is allocated to take a portion out for the TAD allocation. And then lastly is Phoebe, the V-Pilot, which is reviewed annually for them to determine how much is being paid based on different things that could have happened. Like, for instance, they could have sold some properties and no longer no longer exempt under the agreement that was originally established. And then the last 4 pages is just a 5-year history for you to review to give you some kind of idea what the taxes were for the last 5 years. If you look at the very last page, on page 6, at the very bottom where you see totals, it will give you the grand totals for each county and taxing authority, as well as for the TAD allocation and for the V-Pilot for Phoebe.
Ms. Joseph, did the state waive their taxes?
Yes, I believe that happened in 2016.
At 3%, I think.
The state, as far as ad valorem taxes, is 0.
Right, but they waive other taxes for business too, right?
I'm not aware of any other taxes being waived, not for as ad valorem taxes.
Thank you.
And on the very last page, page 7, it's just a count of comparison from 2019 to 2020 as far as the exempt properties. For each classification of exempt properties, for 2019 it was 4,191. For 2020 it was 4,259. It was a 68 accounts difference. The variance as far as the value is 61,976,836. So you're looking at about a 12% increase. And George Anderson is also here if you have any questions about the exempt properties.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I got one.
Yes,
On
Commissioner
that
Edwards.
E1 public property, is that just total what? That's exempt on that 3? That public property, what's all included in that public property?
Public property, okay, I'll let
What
George
was E1?
answer that.
Commissioner Edwards, that's all the public property in Dougherty County. That's the Dougherty County property, City of Albany, Georgia Department, federal property, school system.
So
That
government,
includes
total
all.
government entity?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay.
All right.
Did anyone have any other questions or anything?
Just on the, I see the other, big ticket item here, obviously, is E2, places of religious worship. What are the qualifications for property to be tax exempt under that, other than just a self-reported, a church owns it, we're a tax exempt entity?
Well, they have to, all of these exemptions are based on use. So they have to be using the property for religious purposes. Just because they own the property does not mean it's tax exempt. Also, I just wanted to point out, we do have a position in the tax department that's a part-time job, and that works 4 days a week, and that person's sole responsibility is review all the tax exempt property in Dougherty County. And this person goes out and takes a look at all the exempt properties and determines to see whether they still qualify for the exemptions they have. And if there is some kind of question on whether they may or may not qualify, then the appraiser will send out a questionnaire to the owner of the property asking information regarding on what the property is being used for to see if it qualifies for the exemption.
Gotcha.
And of course, all exemptions are the granted or not granted through the Board of Tax Assessors. They all have to go to them, and the Board of Tax Assessors bases their decisions on state law, and that state law covers all the counties in Georgia.
All right,
Okay.
thank you. Any other comments or questions? All right, thank you very much. Very good information. We appreciate that. All right, next delegations, we have Dr. Charles King, present to discuss code enforcement concerns. Good morning, Dr. King. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
My name is Dr. Charles King. I've been in practice and a resident of Albany for a resident all of my life, almost 68, 69 years, but also in practice for almost 40 years. And I'm here today because I was encouraged by friends on the commission, people who represent my district, to come down and speak to you on this problem that we're having consistently, not just on the property here, but on properties that are owned around town and in the county. This particular property that in question is on Mercedes Avenue, or Mercedes Street, is listed here on the code enforcement. I don't have a PowerPoint presentation this morning, so forgive me for that. But I was sent this notice in the mail. It was kind of shocking to me because, you know, you try to do what's right when it concerns your properties and trying to keep them up and so forth. I keep it cut. I keep it neat. But it seems like the neater you keep it, the more opportunity there is somebody to come and take advantage of it. And this is what had happened. People who are in the neighborhood or outside the neighborhood feel like they want a clean place to hang out. And this property at 910 Mercedes was scattered with debris and litter. So code enforcement sent me a letter telling me I got to clean it up. Now, this is not the first time that this happened. This is, I think, 2 or 3 times this has occurred. And each time, you know, I follow the directive. Says, you got 7 days to clean it up, brother. We don't know if you did it or not, but it's your property. You got to clean it up. Now, I'm a taxpayer. I pay at least, almost $20,000 a year in taxes. And I couldn't understand why is it my responsibility to keep cleaning up after other people. My office is 915 Highland. I'm constantly going down the street, around the corner, picking up cups, paper, what have you, whatever they decide to litter. That's what we have to pick up now. It's in my best interest, of course, to keep the neighborhood nice and clean so that when people come visit my business, they can say, you know, you're not in a slum because you're in a black neighborhood, but you're in a nice place where people can feel comfortable going to and fro. And this is what I've tried to accomplish. And I can't understand, if I'm paying taxes, why am I always the one that have to clean it up? The city, the county own easement along these highways and byways. But every now and then during the summer months, they may come along and with the street sweeper and clean up whatever's on the curb, but nobody gets on the property between the curb and the sidewalk. Nobody comes along and pick it up. At some point, there was some prisoners or jail inmates that came along to pick up the trash, but on the whole, nobody comes to do it, so you have to do it. And at some point, you get a little frustrated, you know, that, you know, if you're gonna keep it clean, you gotta do it yourself. And I run a very busy practice. My son and I, 950 King Family Dental, and we don't have time for it. We just got to a point now where something has to be done. You can't just send me enforcement letters telling me I got to do it when nobody else will. I would think that maybe some of my tax money ought to be used to help keep the area clean. If it's not done consistently, it's gonna always be dirty, okay? Paper cups, anything imaginable, lottery ticket stubs, whatever, it's there. And we have to make sure that it's kept clean. So I don't know what the answer is. I really don't. You think about putting a trash container there, but people tend to come along and dump their city trash in it. I've talked to store owners. They have properties where people have problems where people come by and put their household trash in their dumpsters consistently, all the time. So they have to put a lock on them. Now, what can I do about this property at 910? I thought about putting up a fence. Maybe that might do it. At one time, they were dumping trash on the back side of the property, and I was called. There's an abandoned house next door to the property that nothing is being done with it. Across the street, there's a mobile home park, and I noticed just this morning that shingles are along the curb that nobody's come to pick up. Just trash up and down the street. So if I pick up my property, what are they gonna do? Who's gonna force them to take care of their area? Because what happens when the wind blows and the rain comes, you know, it washes down, it blows over on your property. There again, you're picking up somebody else's trash. So I don't know what the answer is. And I was encouraged to come down here and talk to you because nobody, or few people come down to discuss their concerns, but I don't have a delegation this morning, but I'm surely I can organize one. This was short notice, but you know, I'm here to kind of encourage our commissioners to do something other than sending me a letter about what I didn't do. I didn't cause this problem. I try to keep it nice and neat. And there's a picture that was sent, and the picture shows that it's nicely cut. It's kept up. But folk come down there, and I guess they camp out, nice clean spot, and they throw their cans in the trash right there on the property. But I thought there was an easement that the city or the county owned, the city owned, that they're supposed to keep clean too. But nobody's making an effort to do that. The curbs are still cluttered, littered with trash. Nobody's made an attempt to do that. So we have resources. So why don't we just, free resources at that? You know, you got people sitting up in the jailhouse ain't doing a doggone thing but eating and getting fat. So I'm not talking down on anybody, I'm just telling you the truth. But the point is, they can come out and more often than not to keep these properties clean. That's just something we ought to think about in the future.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. King. And to your point, I experienced some similar frustration the other day. As chairman of the county commission, I also serve as the chairman of the payroll development authority. And I was informed by our executive director of the payroll development authority, which owns property on behalf of this community that's publicly owned. The payroll development authority got a notice from code enforcement the other day. And somebody had come and dumped a bunch of stuff on a publicly owned property by the payroll development authority, dumped some mattress and some trash out there. And we had gotten a citation from the city of Albany's code enforcement division. And so I can empathize with you because it's frustrating. I mean, heck, you know, this is a publicly owned, it's not even privately owned. And we got a citation as well, and I can appreciate the frustration that when you're trying to do the right thing as a property owner, and then you see that there's areas around you that are publicly maintained, but they're not being maintained properly, that can be remarkably frustrating, and I can empathize with that. I will tell you that I did understand, based on my inquiry, that I think they've got a new code enforcement person there that's sort of been pursuing things pretty aggressively. It was a little bit frustrating in our encounter, but I do think, to the extent we can share your frustration on your behalf to the city as well, we will certainly carry that message, and if there's anything we can do. And I mean, I get it. It's also, it's not, like, it's like no good deed ever goes unpunished. You know, you try to do the right thing, you own property, try and keep it clean, then somebody comes out and messes it up, and then very shortly thereafter, you end up getting a citation or a notice or what have you, and it's frustrating. I get it.
I was given a number to call, and I understand Mr. Tudu, and every time I call, that number is busy. Busy.
Which
I'm
number
saying,
was this? The city's number?
yeah, I dial 431-2842. It's busy all the time. And, you know, I guess
What was the number again?
431-2842. That's the number I was given.
Is that for code enforcement?
That was for Mr. Tutu.
Mr. Tutu?
I understand
He's the
director.
acting code enforcement director.
Right. And the number is always busy. I couldn't get to him, so I couldn't talk to him about it one-on-one, so I decided I'd come down here and talk to you guys. And ladies. Ms. Gaines.
I think the city changed over to 302 numbers.
That's frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an
old number.
Non-working number.
And he was encouraged by myself as well as Commissioner Jones, because he lives in District 6, but this particular issue is in the city limits. And I think not necessarily all of us have that same concern, but I would like to see a little bit more conversation done. Now, in reference to the jail, because of COVID, the sheriff is not letting anybody out right now. But on a serious note, even on the news the other day, where we saw off of Mock Road where the tires was placed on somebody's property. And at the end of the interview, it said that person will be charged to remove it. Now, for me, that isn't fair. Now, I don't know, we continue to say that, just like Dr. King, he didn't put the trash on the thing on his lot. So.
Well, you're still the property owner and you have a responsibility.
Are we going to go back to the dilapidated houses that Commissioner Jones expressed? This is the same situation that we continue to fall in, and we kind of just continue to kick the can down the road to me. And if I can say, and this might be a far-fetched situation here, where if I had a person on my land and that person passed away, and we said, well, we know Vic Edwards did not kill this person. So right then, we shove that responsibility back and say, that is not his responsibility. We know this person did not commit this act. So now on this situation with something that's very minute, we come back and flip the switch, Mr. Chairman, and say, no, we know you didn't commit this act, but we're gonna force you to pay. Now for me, he's in a situation.
Who's we?
When I say we, as an individual person.
Aren't doing anything though.
Right, so again, but we charging.
We, who is we?
The government.
Which government?
Well, okay.
Now,
The city government.
Let's be very precise
Well, the
about
city,
that.
so I guess my whole thing is, it is the city where you're sending out bills to folks. So it's also where I would express that same concern, but it goes under the same dilapidated part to me also, that we continue to kick that can down the road.
Who is we?
Government. No, you see, you're trying to separate. It's not you.
No. I get the frustration.
We can't separate.
Hold on. I understand that the frustration is universal.
Right.
And that we
is
get lumped in with the collective we.
Right.
What is more frustrating for me is that I'm not the we that has control over it. And it is frustrating to me, because I go through, I mean, I'm literally going through the same thing as Dr. King on behalf of the Payroll Development Authority. And we go, okay, can we get some City of Albany folks to come and clean up this property for the Payroll Development Authority, which is not a city, it's not a county, it is a little, political subdivision that makes decisions and has very small budget to try and bring jobs to the community. You know what we got back from the city manager? Clean it up yourself. Which we're like, okay, so now think about how illogical this is. It is a publicly owned property, okay? That we do, the Payroll Development Authority does work on behalf of the city and the county for the entire community. And the city and the county both have people on staff that can go clean up a publicly owned property legally. Can't send someone to a private home to clean up their property. Instead of us using under fixed overhead, where we pay a guy every single day to go out there and just pick up some stuff, instead, what we've got to do with the Payroll Development Authority, because of the lack of cooperation we get from the city, just sort of thumbs their nose at the Payroll Development Authority, is we got to go hire somebody. Spend money, hire someone, put it out in the contract.
So my thing, we on the same page. But what get me when people bring a legitimate concern, we act like, well, it's okay. We saying, well, we know that. So, sir, we appreciate your comments, but we really not gonna do anything.
What do you want to do to fix it?
I guess my thing going back to what we talked about earlier about having some kind of look at our overall nuisance. Because just like I've been dealing with one situation, which is in the county, the same thing with an apartment complex. People bring trash, mattresses. I don't know, I think Ms. Bowles just got tired of them and like, hey, we talking about the same dumpster. So again, are we gonna look at some kind of study or reevaluate our process?
I get it, but how do we study what we know is already wrong? I know what's wrong. The city's doing a really bad job on this. That's
which is we.
I think I got an answer.
Where did you run? I mean, we all ran for county commission. I would love to be able to fix it. I will write a letter today. I will go with you to Sheridan Superintendent's office and share the same complaint.
Okay.
I will get a picket sign if you want me to and walk out there.
Mr. Chairman.
But it is frustrating.
I guess I was going to ask the county attorney. You're an attorney also, but from a standpoint, say if what alternative that would a person have, Mr. Lee, based on saying you got a notification and you know it's not yours, do you submit to the notification and wait to go to court to a judge? I don't know. So again, we're all searching for that same answer. So what would be your thoughts, Spencer?
First off, Dr. King's brought up a number of issues, and then it's been expanded into other things. And I'm not certain that the commission's ever gotten a hold on what we can and can't do under as a Dougherty County Commission versus what the City Commission does and what our regulations say. I think we need to continue talking about the larger picture about how to take care of Barbigale, how to take care of dilapidated structures. The mechanisms are there. The question is how much money you want to spend on it and how much help you want to get to do it. We can tear down every dilapidated house in the unincorporated area if that's what you want to do. We can tear down every one. But we pick them apart, and then we only have so much money to deal with them. Now, my understanding about trying to solve what Dr. King is talking about, multiple issues here between the curb and the road and who can go get it and wind blowing and this and that, those are multiple issues. Now, I don't mind talking with Dr. King about all those, going out and looking at the property and really understanding it. But my understanding is the property is in the city of Albany. There's not one thing we can do. Not one thing. We can talk about it. We can be frustrated about it. We can understand that maybe some of the city commissioners and maybe some of the city staff are not acting like we think they ought to act. but there's not one thing we can do about the property in the city limits. We deal in the unincorporated area with 15,000 people. That's it. That is it. And the state laws and the city ordinances in the city limits are the ones you deal with. Now, on illegal dumps, which apparently is what we have here, I don't know all of the issues. I didn't pick up every single issue. But apparently we were talking about somebody dumping on Dr. King's property, and he's being cited by the city. Is that what we're talking about? There's not one thing this commission can do about that. Now, I don't know whether Dr. King's been to see his commissioner or whether he's appeared before the city commission, but obviously that's where Dr. King needs to go. But I know what they're going to tell him, because we've been dealing with this issue for time immemorial. And an illegal dump is simply somebody coming and they're dumping it on somebody else's property. And as Commissioner Edwards brought up, that property might have been heir property, somebody else might have inherited, so why should you go against that person? You got nobody else to go against. You go against the owner of the property because it's on their property, and they're responsible for following the guidelines of the state statutes as well as the city ordinances dealing with property that had an illegal dump on it. We've addressed this many, many times in the community, many, many times. The only thing they can do is cite the owner of the property. Now, what you can do, and everybody says to do this, is go through the dump. If it's garbage, go through there and see if you can find some information about where the garbage came from. If you can, then that's a crime. That's a misdemeanor. You can cite them for an illegal dump, but it's still the property owner's responsibility to maintain their property in accord with the local regulations. So it's an illegal dump, the only person you can cite, and the city apparently has gotten real serious about sending code enforcement out and citing violations, and that's how you happen to get hit, I think, Dr. King. And it is frustrating, but you're in the wrong governing body.
No, I think I'm in the right one. When I speak about the highways and byways where I live in the county, nobody comes to clean up the trash that's slung out the windows of passerbys, whether it be neighborhood folk or folk just passing through. Nobody comes by and pick up the trash, okay? What happens is the guy on the lawnmower, when he comes through during the spring and the summer and the early fall, he just cuts it all up and leave a bigger mess. And we're seeing this all the time. I used to get out of my golf cart, and I don't use it for golfing because I don't golf, but I go out and I get a trash can and a bag and just clean up and down the street. I got tired of doing that. Nobody comes along to clean up the trash. Nobody. The code enforcement don't give the county a violation. They just let it happen. And we got a nice neighborhood, try to maintain, new subdivision on the backside of where I live. But nobody comes to pick up the trash. It's like if it's going to be done, we got to pick it up on the county-owned roads. And that's ridiculous. Why do we have to do that all the time? This is the county now. But adding that frustration along with what's going on in the city, nobody seems to be doing anything. So what the problem is? Money. Money has to be budgeted to handle this situation. You see, we just can't keep overlooking it. We got folk leaving the county because of a business that they feel like, oh, Lee County is better, or on the other side is better, schools are better. They come and they drive the neighborhoods, southeast Dougherty County, downtown, and they see all this trash. What in the world is going on? We don't put our priorities where we should. People like to feel like they're coming to a nice, clean community, and we're not providing that. That's all I'm saying. You will let the trash just pile up, and we're saying, well, we ain't responsible, it's somebody else's problem. I tried my best, my very best, to keep my area, my little niche clean, but I can't go all up and down Holland Street picking up trash all the time. I got work to do, okay? So if we're gonna make Albany attractive, we gotta take care of all of Albany. Not just certain parts of it, but all of it. You know, and we gotta work this problem out. We just can't look for these laws that we have on the books to satisfy our situation because it ain't working, gentlemen, ladies, it ain't working. We gotta do something. But I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
And I appreciate you coming, Dr. King, as well as the chairman. You know, and I appreciate you, Mr. Chairman, for continuing to try to find, you know, the solutions. And we know we're gonna continue to have better relationship with, you know, communication with the city. But that was kind of where we was wanting to say, hey, it is a problem. And this really what.
I get it.
Yeah.
I really,
So
I genuinely get it. And I genuinely get the frustration because, and Dr. King doesn't care whether it's in the city or in the county. He just, you want the problem fixed. And
Yes.
I get it. I do.
And see, I think myself as well as Commissioner Clinton, we're in a unique situation because that is, even though I'm a county sitting commissioner, that's part of my district again. So it puts you right there.
And every part of your district
is
part
all
of
yours.
That's mine. So I'm very sensitive to it. And Dr. King, I thank you for taking the time to come down here and speak to us. And honestly, you know, when you call the number that you're given and I, you know, go directly to, that's an F. I mean, it's an F.
Okay.
Every morning when I carry my kids to school, I give them a grade on how well we did. Like, you know, did we get there at 7:37? Did we get there at 7:45? Did everybody got the shoes tied? And we give ourselves a grade every morning. If I were grading this on behalf of the city of Albany and our community, I'd give them an F. It's an F. And then so you got to find how to work your way up from an F. Maybe it's a D. Yeah. I can't hear it. Mike?
311. He can dial 311 to get any local government service, the
Right.
non-emergency number.
Okay. Got you.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate y'all.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Any other delegations that did not previously sign up that wish to be heard at this time? There being none. Mr. Wright, are you speaking today?
Just asking for time out. Well, we were bringing you an update, but upon arriving, the clerk explained that you did not receive the file. You did not receive the file, as I understand it. And do not blame me, I'm just a presenter. What I will do, Mr. Chair, is just bring a couple of quick things. We want to bring you an update, but if you do not have the original file, the supplement will not make any sense. So I'm just going to go over two things we need.
Okay.
There was a short circuit in the communication as to why we were not at Robert Cross last week, but that has been resolved. So the first thing we would, excuse me, ask you to do is to look at March 9th and 16th. And the reason we bring this to your attention, those days are important. The money is running out. I got information from SBA Friday that it's approaching $1 trillion. That's how much has been loaned out of the PPP program. And that was all that was budgeted in the second stimulus. The first stimulus only had $2 trillion. But there is one thing more significant that you need to be aware of. And what we'll do is we'll bring this to you next week. We have the actual numbers of the codes. Well, one thing that did change was called the Sheridan venue operations. What that means is anyone that's in the hospitality sector, and we have outlined those, that would be institutions like Chehaw Park, Frontiska, the Heritage Center. The only one that's eliminated that could not qualify would be the Convention and Visitor Bureau. Well, not the Convention and Visitors, but the we have the Albany-Dougherty County Payroll Development Authority. And this is additional money that they will be eligible for. People who are in the hotel and the restaurant business, see, that was not previously the case. So anyone that's in hotel, restaurant, the theater is what is a shut-up venue, the theater. So the Albany Theater Albany, what they call it. They are eligible now for the additional money as a result of the change that was made. That was what we were bringing to you and to show you how it operates. So William did not blow this. It was just blown. And things happen, we understand the short circuit. But remember, let me just go over that list real quick with you so you'll know exactly what we're talking about for the shut-up venues.
You're saying shuttered venues?
Yeah, shut-up venues,
Shuttered,
the
okay.
theater, like when you go to New York City and go to Broadway. Those are the ventures, and the ones that we have would be the Civil Rights Museum, Chehawk Park, Thronatisca, the Flint River Aquarium. All of them are eligible for an additional 100%. Now, it is very complex to complete that calculation, so that means that they will probably have to pay for this service, but it is there if you can get an extra 100%. We'll be contacting them. You can contact them. And we will bring the full dossier for you next week, and hopefully the electronics will not mess up this time, but we try to do it.
Yeah, but I want to say something to you, Mr. Wright. Now, you already have, the knife
Right,
at Robert Cross.
right.
Now, that, to me, that's it. You got the knife, and when you said the communication failed, you failed because you had the date for the 25th. It's your responsibility to follow up that day before, because staff opened that building for you. You did not show up. So when you say it failed, that's because you failed. Because I did personally ran around. He signed the day, I signed the day, and Commissioner Gaines signed the day. You did not come. So when you come now, it's like we went way out the way. So we didn't fail. The day the staff went, that means the staff owned that building. They got there at 2:30. They stayed to like 3:15. So you had the event. It's your responsibility to follow up. So right now, Mr. McCoy is on the books. It was on the books 2 weeks ago. So right now you have the night from 3 to 6. The other day, throw that in the trash can. So it's up to you. You have the capacity for 25 people. So county staff are going to do the same thing they did before. So when you come and you telling us this, I want you to start saying, we work with you. Even the chairman, he don't put you on the timer. He let you talk long as you want to. So again, for me, no, I know what we did. We did not fail. And these other commissioners, they did not disagree with those dates you had. So when you should have showed up, when I called you I got there 5 o'clock, you answered your phone at your office. And we done been through this. So again, that's what got me right there when you say we failed. The county did not fail. Public Works had you on the books. Mr. McCoy, he confirmed it. Commissioner Johnson, he signed his rental agreement. Commissioner Gaines, she even came out and signed her rental agreement, and I did. So we did not fail to this county. And we the only, and what really get me, we the only one in government take the time to listen. We don't disrespect you, but when you come before us, for me, and you say this ain't what we did, oh, you lying, man. You lying. So again, the 9th is your date. You got the 9th is your date that building will be open. It's up to you on the 8th. Because the person called and say, how many chairs you want? That's on you, Mr. Wright. So for me, you know, I thought I would just do this.
Well, the only thing I would say, the electronics failed, but if you want to say that William failed, well, William failed.
You ain't showed up for your own event.
Okay, well, what I'm asking, though, is this. The 9th is not gonna be enough, is the money.
That's what's on the book right now. That is what the lady has on the book for Afron Tech, from 3 to 6, the 9th. That's it.
It was supposed to be 3.
You had 3. You didn't come on the 25th, which last week.
That's only 1.
No, but then you had the 9th and you got the February the 25th. So what I'm saying is something already on the books for that particular date. You cannot just go and see. We got to see if that date open. Okay. But for me, you got the 9th, which is what, next week? Next Thursday?
I'm thinking next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday. That's your date now.
So, well.
It's so all you want. That's your date. Because you had last Thursday.
That's
the 25th.
Still not 3 days. That's the only thing I'm saying. If you're gonna give us, and we appreciate it.
Say it again. If we gonna give you, and that's what you had.
Right.
And nobody else. But it's up to you, Mr. Wright. You didn't show up to your own party.
Well, I think that the circus was shorter.
However, if nobody else in the world showed up, Mr. Wright, you should have been there last Thursday.
Yes. Yes, William should have been there.
That's it. That's all. Now, don't play me like that. You should have been there.
Okay, well, I'm not gonna play crazy. I'm gonna leave.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wright.
Let's spend some money.
I ain't throw y'all my chairman.
Thank y'all. We're gonna move on out of delegations to purchases. Consider for action the recommendation to purchase one 2021 Ford F-150 4x4 pickup truck for the coroner's office from the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, meeting specifications, Sunbelt Ford out of Lincoln, Albany, Georgia. The value engineered amount of $35,205.28. This amount reflects the addition of the remote start option. Is there a motion?
Motion approved. Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? There being none, call the matter for a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Consider for action the recommendation to purchase a T60T hydro seeder for the solid waste department from the state contract vendor, Flint Equipment out of Albany, Georgia, in the amount of $35,628.72. The machine will be used to grass areas of the landfill to comply with EPD rules. Funding is available in the solid waste capital outlay. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? There being none, we'll call the matter for a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Consider for action the recommendation to purchase one Alamo 25 boom mower in the amount of $74,600 and one John Deere 6130M cab tractor in the amount of $99,773.52 from the state contract vendor, Flint Equipment Company out of Albany, Georgia, for the Public Works Department. The total expenditure will be $174,373.52 and is budgeted in SPLOST 7. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? There being none, we'll call the matter for a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Consider for action the resolution providing for the enforcement of the Dougherty County nuisance abatement resolution relative to two purported dilapidated structures located at 2912 and 2914 Thrasher Avenue. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion.
I second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? There being none, we'll call the matter for a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Consider for action the resolution providing for the acceptance of the changes recommended by the Environmental Protective Division of the Georgia Department of Natural Resources relative to Dougherty County Stormwater Control Ordinance. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? There being none, we'll call them out for a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Consider for action the recommendation from the GBI for the Commission to accept two Criminal Justice Coordinating Council multi-jurisdictional task force grants in the amounts of $44,858 and $203,142 for a total award of $248,000. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
I second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? There being none, we'll call the matter for a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All right, any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Consider for action the resolution providing an intergovernmental agreement by and between the Georgia Department of Natural Resources and Dougherty County relative to the restoration and repair of a historic bridge known as Spring Run Bridge and construction of a trail system around Radium Garden. Mr. Lee.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. This came to me last week from DNR representatives, and it's a continuation of what the commission knows is the rehabilitation of Spring Run and the building of the trail system around Radium Gardens. They sent it last week, and I thought I'd put it on today's agenda, even though it was not on a work session, simply because the DNR board is meeting later this month, and they need an executed copy in front of them before they can take action. Now, what this simply does is you're aware, you signed a use agreement with the DNR for the use of this particular piece of property, the 84 acres out at Radium Springs, including the Spring Run Bridge, along with 13 other property. In addition to that, the exciting news was, of course, you filed last year with the Georgia General Assembly for a grant to rehabilitate that bridge and to continue the building of the trail system around Radium Gardens up to Radium Springs Road. And if you recall, they did give us a grant, $135,000 to do that project. Public Works and the Engineering Department of Dougherty County have gone out and they've got the construction drawings done to do both projects, Spring Run Bridge, rehabilitate it, and continue the trail system along the river around Radium Gardens to Radium Springs Road. In order to continue with that project, we have to sign an agreement with DNR after submitting to them our plans and specifications that said they approved that and they're willing to move forward and allow us to bid the project as long as we accept responsibility for it. And that's what this use agreement is. And so it's in front of you today. And again, it didn't appear on your work session, but if you feel comfortable with it, it would help us move this project along to take action today.
Motion to approve.
Second. Motion and second. Any discussion? There be none. Let's call about it for a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Mr. McCoy, do you have anything?
Nothing further. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Lee, do you have anything else?
Nothing, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Gaines?
Nothing, thank you.
All right. Commissioner Gray?
Nothing, sir.
Commissioner Edwards?
Nothing, sir.
Commissioner Johnson?
Really quick, sir, House Resolution 1319, coming down from NACO, opportunity for the county to get a little bit more money directly from the U.S. Treasury. I think Dougherty County allocation is about $17 million. Ms. McCoy, is that correct? And there's not a timeline on spending the money. Has not passed the Senate, did pass in the House about 2 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. HR 1319.
Thank you very much. Excellent information, Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Newsom?
Nothing, Mr. Chairman.
All right. I just wanted to thank my fellow commissioners that were able to participate in the Chamber's Albany Dougherty Day in Atlanta. Though we were strained a bit technologically, it makes a huge impact that we are there and that we're present, and we got to see a lot of folks, and that's very, very good. I'm also, I want to brag on some of our numbers as a community. We continue to be in the top 5, if not higher, in terms of being the most vaccinated counties in the entire state of Georgia. And I want to encourage everyone to please continue to make use of the different vaccination resources that we have here. We are seeing a very sharp decline in the overall infection rate as well as the death rate. And I'm ready to get on the other side of this thing. I don't know when that's going to happen, but I do know that we've gotten more resources for our citizens than just about any other county our size.
I want to thank you, too, for making that clarification to the state that we were not lagging in vaccinations, yes. That our population is the 65-year-old population had been taken care of, that we were number 3 in the state, behind the Thomasville retirement community or Miller County, that Dougherty County was spot on. So thank you for that clarification.
No, and thank you for bringing that up. And I will tell you this, and I think I just think some of the communications got confused, but the governor knows that. I've spoken with him directly. Very proud of Albany and Dougherty County, and of the work that's being done here. And Mr. McCoy, thank you for all of your hard work. I know that Mr. McCoy the other day, this mass vaccination site would not have happened without the county's participation, and Mr. McCoy, I just wanted to thank you for jumping on that issue that happened with the forestry department's roof the other day, and we were helping out with that. And I understand that. I meant to personally thank you. So thank you very much. We're adjourned.
My fellow citizens of Dougherty County, we continue to make strides in fighting the spread of the COVID-19 virus here in our community, but we need your help. If you or someone you know is eligible to receive the vaccine, as your county commission chairman, I'm asking you, please consider getting the vaccine. Together we can fight the spread here in Dougherty County and make us happier, healthier, and stronger.